Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're going to be diving down into the charts to talk about 5 altcoins that I think you guys are going to want to know about. As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you are going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all of that said, done and out of the way, let's jump on down into the desktop and take a look at what is going on in the crypto space and what 5 altcoins I think you might want to be paying attention to. Right, so we're going to start things off not with Bitcoin, but with a bit of a foundation, a bit of an understanding as to what is going on here and why it's important to really follow what Bitcoin is doing in kinds of times of volatility that we're currently experiencing, right? So here we have Bitcoin. This is just the hourly. We obviously have this ABC to the downside, potentially taking Bitcoin down towards $40,000 from its current position of $42,000. Again, this was an area that we kind of highlighted previously as a good, strong area of support. So it was an interesting area to find bounce from last night. Now, obviously, this is a resistance area turning to support, but I do think we are going to lose this support and we're going to go down a little bit lower. So obviously, as they say, if you lose support, then do go short, but we don't do anything with leverage on the channel. It's high risk, but we do obviously say there's some interesting points of accumulation should you be looking at it. So now we obviously know that Bitcoin is likely to pull back. It means that pretty much most altcoins are going to pull back as well. There might be the odd exception here and there, but for the most part, they're going to pull back. And as a result of that, there's going to be some opportunities for accumulation. So we're going to talk about 5 altcoins, and let's get into the very first one. So the first one is one of my personal favorites right now is Chainlink. Now, Chainlink is highly volatile. And if you zoom out into our daily chart, for example, and we just show you the kind of volatility that you should expect here should you want to get into Chainlink, a 63% pullback, 50% pullback, 43% pullback, 72% pullback, 74% pullback, 60% pullback, and so forth, 53% pullback, right? These are the kind of levels that you get kind of quite comfortable with Chainlink, but the volatility that is there is pretty much driven from actual use case, right? So as the demand for DeFi and oracles kind of kick in, you kind of see a spike, right? So the volatility brings you profit, but also does bring risk. Okay, so just be aware of that. Obviously, I can't offer you financial advice, but I am buying Chainlink because I see it's had quite a significant pullback, and we should be looking at the opposite, which is a good push to the upside. But there is still some more volatility here. There's still some more lows to come in. So this might be something that you're interested in. So what do we have? Well, we have the volatility here. We have the ABC up, and then we have the pullback that Bitcoin also triggered yesterday. This is kind of pretty obvious stuff that we've been talking about for a while, so it shouldn't be new to you guys in any way. Let me just tidy up the chart by removing some of the noise here. So the ABC up, and we had this pullback down, finding an interesting support down here at 1572, and this is basically the B wave. It's a kind of a bear flag, effectively, if you think about it in a certain way. It doesn't really meet a lot of the requirements. It's not a neat example of it, I should say, but basically you have the pole just here, and then you have the leg, if you will, the little flag going down this side. Now, normally you would expect higher volume for the pole, and you would expect lower volume here on the flag. But nonetheless, it is kind of there to a degree. Whether you want to look at it as a bear flag or whether you want to look at this as an A flat correction and a C wave down lower, it doesn't really matter. That's kind of how I look at it though. So we have our A wave down, we have our B wave up, and for the most part I'm going to put it here, and then we're going to go down that. That's actually going to show us the kind of the pessimistic look of the lows. If we wanted to be a little bit more optimistic with not going down as low, then we would use this as the B wave. I think this is actually a slightly neater example because it's had a little bit more of a push to the upside. Okay, so that's where we're thinking. Now let's actually go ahead and measure this, and we'll take it from the bottom here of this A wave to the top side here, and then what we're going to do is we'll just transpose that down on top of our B wave here, and then that gives us our target of a 1-to-1 ratio, about $14.18. So I started the dollar cost averaging into this one during this A wave down. I will continue to dollar cost average into this C wave. Should we come down as low as $14.18, I should be pretty much done at that point, I would have thought, with my dollar cost averaging. Okay, we can of course come back down lower, but I've got a lot of other coins I want to be buying. So for me, this is kind of the low point that I'm looking for on Chainlink. If it goes down lower, that's great for anyone else who wants to accumulate, but for me, that's kind of where I'm done here with this one. But for the most part, dollar cost average down here, leave it for this B wave because B waves are unpredictable, and then obviously we pull back down again a little bit lower to dollar cost average. Great. So Chainlink's the first one, and obviously once we've dollar cost averaged into this, what we're really looking for is a nice strong move to the upside. And if we come up into our daily view, I know there's a lot of noise here, so I am going to remove some of that, just remove some of the noise. Effectively, what we're looking at is these really big pushes to the upside, right? So we fell back down here 60%, and then we pushed up 86%. We have another example somewhere, if I can find it. We pushed up 172%. We fell down 74, we pushed up 172. Okay, and this is on the downtrend. So once we actually start going and talking about new all-time highs, which I do think are on the horizons here, for Chainlink, we're going to be, hopefully in pretty good, significant gains with Chainlink. So that's the first altcoin I really want to kind of bring to your attention. It's got some interesting targets, and it's incredibly volatile, which actually brings us incredible gains long term as well. So yeah, as long as you make sure you catch it right, I think you'll be pretty impressed with what you see here with Chainlink. Now, I'm not going to go through the fundamentals of it. Obviously, that's kind of up for discussion everywhere else. But let's go into the second altcoin, which is Avax. I do love the technology at Avax here. So again, we look to have completed this this ABC move to the downside. We're looking up. This is just going to be a nice healthy pullback I've spoken about before. We can finally see that daily stochastic RSI moving. But let's actually get into what we think is going to happen here on the smaller time frames where we want to be dollar cost averaging, etc. Now, Chris has been dollar cost averaging already into this one, but there's some lower lows still to come in here. So let's see what's going on here, right? And for the most part, it's following exactly what Bitcoin has been doing, as most altcoins have been. We have that really small ABC just there. We right now actually have this this move here. I think this is a definitive B, and we're looking to fall down into our C wave. So what we'll do is we'll measure that distance just here, and we'll grab hold of that, and then we'll transpose it over into here. And then we'll just quickly mark this up with our A wave down, our B wave up, and our C wave coming down to about 74.19. Okay, so again, dollar cost averaging this one for that kind of long-term hold, and again, looking pretty good. I do expect this one to, if this daily stochastic RSI is not fully corrected by this point, I would expect this one to have again another kind of small movement like this, and then potentially another kind of ABC down, but we're too soon to really know about that. The other thing that is potentially going on here, and I think is actually a slightly better fit than the ABC, but I will actually just mark that up so we have a good target for it, because I feel they're probably going to come very, very close anyway, like we had with XRP, is we have that ABC just there. We also have an ABC in here, and I'll quickly just mark this one up as well. Effectively, we have this real tight one, A, B, and C. And then we actually have, if I measure it from here to here, transpose that to there, an impulsive move. Okay, so this actually, it can be measured slightly differently, which would be a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3 coming down to about here, a wave 4, and then we come down into a wave 5. Now, the wave 5 target has a minimum threshold or a minimum target of a 1.618. So that actually puts us right here at about 76.96. So I'll quickly mark that up there as well. Again, that's the minimum threshold. You can, of course, see this come down much lower towards that 2.618, the 3.618, or the 4.236. But to be honest with you, I can't see it going beyond the 2.618 just because it would be really overextended at that point. So we'll leave it there for now, but this is a really nice, neat example of what a 5 wave would look like here. Obviously, there's probably lots of additional waves to be had here, but I'm not going to go into all of that kind of stuff. The other thing you want to really just focus in on is basically gives us a target zone rather than one specific target. Effectively, if we're in this area here, this seems like a good reversal point, somewhere between 74.20 and 76.97. That is potentially going to be the zone where we accumulate, and also the zone where you see a reversal, whether that's a large reversal or a small reversal. Something kind of reversal should happen at about this point here, in the same way that we saw it with XRP as well. So right now, that's kind of Avax. If you're not familiar with the Snow protocol and things like that, you definitely want to do a lot of research on it. It's quite complicated, but it's got a lot of promise to it, right? Solid tech, solid team, all of that kind of good stuff. So if you're not familiar, check it out. It's definitely going to be right up there as a high competitor for many of these other smart contract platforms, and there's a reason why it has rallied so strongly recently. So definitely do check out the fundamental stuff if you're not familiar with it. So let's jump into the third altcoin, right? The third altcoin should be no surprise to anyone, which obviously is HarmonyOne. Now, HarmonyOne, again, is tracking quite nicely to the downside. We had our original kind of buy point just up here. For any kind of short-term trading. This was basically 20 to 19.7. We actually had a dip here before that, getting that kind of last wave count to the upside there. And obviously then we started to see us track back down. Small ABC, just like many of the other altcoins. And then from here, we tracked this massive A wave. I still think we are tracking a B, but the B wave is potentially actually over at around about here, and that means that we can lower our target down and show that we have a 16.1 potential zone here for HarmonyOne. Right now, again, we could potentially try to count this differently, but there's no definitive kind of wave counts in here, right? We have this ABC, so you could mark it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It does work, but in that particular case we would take this measurement slightly differently, and our target would be a lot shallower, so I'll mark it up anyway. So we would have a fifth wave at approximately 17.3, and we have our C wave at approximately 16.2. So if I just quickly remove the fib and we take that one away, again, just like we have with Avax and XRP, as I mentioned before, and this kind of gives us a bit of a zone to target. So anywhere in this range seems a good point for reversal. And again, we can actually then back this up by taking a look at where these previous areas of support would have been. And again, there are actually quite a few right inside this point. Then obviously this low range just here, and all this consolidation right on top of what would be effectively that fifth wave low. And again, if you take a look at that C wave, where that would actually end, that would put us right down here where we had that initial kind of pullback too. So that would actually be a really interesting point to see potential reversal at about 16.4. So HarmonyOne, I think, is going to do really, really well. And this is a natural pullback. Again, we take a look at the daily, it's correcting nicely now, guys, right? So when we start thinking about, what's actually happened, we had the double top. This could be a big zigzag, and we haven't actually fell back down towards that 13.4. So it's kind of very flat correction. It's nothing too major. And again, we are tracking new all-time highs from here. 47 cent has stuck out on many different pieces of TA that I've done with HarmonyOne. So do watch out for that. I think this is a last opportunity of accumulation, specifically as this daily stochastic RSI corrects. And by the time we get down into these lower ranges of 16.2, 17.3, somewhere in that range, and we are going to be, I think, getting a reversal, and that reversal to the upside, I think, is going to be quite significant. So one to watch out for. HarmonyOne is moving mountains with the actual fundamental side of things. So if you're not familiar, again, check it out. They are literally doing a lot. There's a reason that it's rallied so hard very recently, and we've been banging on about HarmonyOne since it was less than 1 cent, and that's for very good reasons, right? Definitely worth checking out. If you haven't done any deep, thorough research on this one, check it out. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Right, let's jump into the fourth altcoin. Again, it should be no surprise, it's VChain, another one that we talk about quite a bit on the channel, and it's got some serious potential to it. It obviously has been somewhat relaxed in the last year, and I think that's fair to say that it hasn't exactly been the best performer since we got that high point in April of 2021. With that being said, though, just like HarmonyOne, we got in so early, it's really hard to not to kind of acknowledge that it did really, really well in this particular move to the upside. It outperformed pretty much Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Link, Avax. I think HarmonyOne just edged it. It outperformed, obviously, XRP, XLM, pretty much most projects. There were a couple that outperformed it, such as Matic in our portfolio, Anchor in our portfolio. So although, it has obviously been quite, unfortunate in the way that it's kind of traded since hitting this all-time high, it is still very much something that we are very positive on. There's very few projects that are doing just as much as VChain from a fundamental point of view. Now, obviously, we're lower in this daily stochastic RSI. This is fantastic news, as it means that we are tracking quite nicely to the upside, right? And, we're going to potentially be tracking to the upside in a really big way once this stochastic RSI gets corrected. So just like the rest of the crypto market, this last little pullback that we're looking at is basically lining up all of the data here for a big move to the upside. So new all-time highs, I do feel, are going to happen here in 2022. And again, those targets are very, very significant. You can see that 1.618 up there at $1, for example. So on the macro view, obviously the weekly is looking very, very good as well, heavily oversold. the monthly, all there, oversold as well. But what about right now? Where's the opportunity? Well, the opportunity is coming in down here at about 5.1 cent. And again, if we can take a look at this, we have the B wave coming up here. We're pulling back down. This actually is targeting 5.195, so a little bit higher than 5 cent on this particular move. But again, we are requiring pretty significant kind of correction on that daily. So we'd have to review whether or not we're going to end up with another kind of zigzag pattern just forming here before we actually go down again for another little leg any lower. Obviously, we had this buy zone right here. This is a real strong area of support. So this coming in at about 4.9 and 5.02. That is going to be a real good strong area of support for VChain. So coming down on this journey towards 5.1, if we do lose that and go down a little bit lower, this I think is going to really hold out quite well. Obviously, when we actually take a look at some of the higher points, you can of course acknowledge that there's a lot of low points still here on the horizon. These are not invalid, at least not yet. We actually failed to go above 7 cent, so to invalidate this one. So the C wave is still technically in play, and where we could see this thing drop down towards that 3.5 cent, but I don't think it's very probable at this stage. I think there's a higher probability that we are actually going to hold out really well and then get a massive swing to the upside. As I said before, the entire pattern here that's playing out is one that's concerning me, but that's just basically because we have effectively these bull flag and the push up, then we kind of trade sideways, we pull back down, bear flag, pull back down again lower. So VChain's very much playing out this standard pattern that you've seen market makers kind of perform before. So we should be very cautious over what happens here. But this 5.1 cent definitely feels like it is the low area for VChain here and VET. And then from here, I think we are going to be looking and tracking quite nicely to the upside. So that's the low target that I have for VChain. I think there's going to be an opportunity to dollar cost average, lower your average price on VET, for example, ahead of what I do anticipate to happen next here in crypto. So the last altcoin I want to talk about is XRP. XRP performed the fifth wave yesterday, coming right down into that sweet spot that I spoke about in yesterday's TA. So we effectively actually got both of them, right? I said there were two scenarios here. We obviously had the 76.5 and the 75 cent range. And we basically came right into this range here, and as you can see, we're trading sideways, so we actually have a zigzag, and this is basically now the move, right? We have the A, the B, and the C. So whether you want to kind of class that as there's basically almost a triple top. I'll call it a double top because it's probably more closest to it. This is now going to lead us into an ABC correction down lower, so I would be looking a little bit lower. It hasn't formed yet, but this area right here, as I said previously, is the gap that had been left behind. This is a gap that I think is likely to get filled, and as I think this is the most probable area that we're going to be revisiting next, and this basically comes in at about 69 to 71 cents, so watch out for that one. Usually you find that when the gaps are left behind, you revisit them to basically fill them so that no kind of gap has been left behind on the data. You get the occasional one that does get left behind, and I mentioned this about a week ago when I think we were up here. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, we mark this out as a gap, and I think it's very important that we do actually come back down and fill it. We don't like leaving gaps from a TA perspective. So, and considering that high position on the stochastic RSI, the push that we just had to the upside, the volume dropping, there's a high probability that we actually have an ABC coming down, and this is the target that I think we are likely to go into. There's no guarantee though that that's where we stop. We could obviously pull back down until we get that A wave formed. We won't actually know for sure where the most probable area is that we are going to fall into. But I do want to kind of draw your attention to this little kind of area here. This effectively is the bull flag. If I actually draw this a little bit neater, pole and flag. There you go. So again, what we actually have here is pole and flag. So again, this is actually slightly higher than what we had over here, but this is going to be an area of support for us. So as XRP pulls back, this is an area that I think we're going to kind of fill this gap and potentially find support just here. The question then becomes, do we actually come down and also fill this gap down here, so we actually complete this entire pattern? I don't think so. I think that this whole area of previous resistance at 63 turned to support. We have resistance up here that we could turn to support, but we do need to fill this gap, in my opinion. So for XRP, there's an opportunity, and I think as we come up into our daily, we can see that stochastic RSI is getting corrected. It's not the fastest in terms of corrections, but it's very much there. And if we actually, see this, we have this huge spike up. This is effectively an ABC correction. And for anyone who likes their Fibonacci retracement zones, we can go ahead and actually throw these on as well. And you can see that where I put that C wave, it's on the 618. Okay, that was just pure coincidence, but also, when we actually drive this back down and we're talking about this particular zone right here and trying to fill it, that's the 618 on the daily chart on that retracement. So anyone who likes their Fibonacci retracements and the synergies between Elliott wave and these Fibonacci retracements, then we want to be really paying attention to the 618, the 702, and the 786. Those are the areas that I think we're going to fill that gap, find that sideways trade, find that support, and then get the reversal, which I do think will be then another really big explosion. And if we actually measure this, because we know this is a daily chart, and I didn't really do this for all other projects, so it's a little bit of a disadvantage. But let's say we do go down to that area there. What is the outcome here? If this is a big A wave, this is our B wave down coming lower, then we are talking about moving above $1, about $1.11 at that point during the ABC completion. And of course, that can turn impulsive, etc. So this is a nice healthy correction. I've spoken about it before, and I'll say it again. Obviously, during this correction on our daily chart, what do we see? Well, the stochastic is correcting. The volumes are dropping. That shows you that it's corrective. We obviously know that there's a lot of sideways trading going on here, giving us the support level. The swing came out of pretty much nowhere though. So that's our A wave. This will be our B wave, our C wave going higher. So right now, a nice healthy correction, a good last opportunity to accumulate before we go up to significant highs. So yeah, those are the 5 altcoins, guys, that I think you might want to be paying attention to. The data that I've kind of gone through here actually translates across pretty much most other altcoins as well. So they're pretty much tracking what Bitcoin does. As I said at the beginning of the video, that's the foundation. What Bitcoin does, the altcoins are going to follow, but usually they get burnt a lot more than what what Bitcoin does. But these are the 5 that I have been focusing on a lot recently. So if you're not familiar with them, do get familiar. I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find there. Good, strong utility, good, strong use cases, and good, strong tech. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe. Tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you are going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all of that said, done and out of the way, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.